as utilitarian. It really, to me, it really has only one purpose, and that's to use. So if we can bring in another person to help, if we can have concerts, if we can have things that draw the public in that are proper and moral and Christian, if we can do things like that, it might get us a person here, a couple there, and you know, Tom's my buddy. Tom's church. They're 4 times our size, but they only have 10 people on Wednesday nights. You know, you never know. Every church is different. Every church is different. So.
Hey David, are they still going to be able to come in here at the association meeting?
Yes, it'll be theirs anytime they want it.
I just feel like if, I mean, just for what it's worth, I just feel like that we have to at least ask some more questions and talk, and if we're gonna be countering with a proposal, I think we've got to counter with a proposal that works for us too.
I'm open for what those questions would be. Don't worry, it won't be me asking them.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, I just feel like, I just texted Chris the information, and he's like, so it sounds like they want us out of here.
That's been said.
So if that's the case, then I think we need to be more aggressive finding a different situation, maybe?
There's nothing to stop us from looking.
Right.
Nothing to stop us from looking. Realizing the limitations, I would just point out to run through your head right now. How many hours of week, how many free hours of the week do you have to build out another place? I mean,
I passed a vacant church on 92, I called her.
I don't see it that way, that they want us out of here.
I don't either. Well, we weren't sitting there. Is that what you felt?
I felt it for a while, yeah. Yeah, yes, sir.
I did a little pricing out on my own online. Just a plain warehouse, they're asking $17 a square foot.
Right.
Get 1,500 square feet, and boom, puts us right out of it. I mean, we'd be glad of what we can get.
That's what when I priced it out, I was like, rent would be higher than any mortgage. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
Commercial rent is extreme.
I was pricing, that was the cheapest I could find, and that was like a warehouse at the back of an industrial
What about that
park.
one? There's two on 92. There's one on the way, like across
That
from.
doesn't mean that it's this one.
I know, but we need to find out, right? There's two. There's a Methodist church that I actually passed this week, called her and told her, because I've been there before, and then it's vacant. There's one on the other direction that's like a shopping center.
If you're thinking of 92 across the street from the,
Target.
okay, there's another one that we negotiated for when we were leaving that building. Remember the one up top of the hill? We just couldn't quite get into it. We just didn't quite have the money to build it out. And that church had been there, stayed there 5 years, and now they're out. It was, what was the name of that church?
Okay. Two things.
Anyway,
Two things come to mind. One, there is that church, I know it is off from a, what am I trying to say, road visual, but it's on 140 as you go down the hill towards Canton. You can't really see it from the road, it's a bad turn in and turn out, but it was very affordable, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
is that the one on Marvin Land Road?
No, but that was my other question is, do we know what's going on with that church, the point?
They've taken 6 months off.
But it's been 6 months now.
Well,
But I wonder if they're back at it.
that they may be. I haven't
So-
talked
so-
to him.
Yeah,
So.
so that church came to mind, and then there was another one that was supposed to be really affordable that we talked about at one point on 140.
Up on top of the hill,
Yeah, you kind of turn and go, yes.
Mill Creek, or it's not Mill Creek, but it's one of the 100-year-olders. Yeah.
I'm just curious what happened with that, because it was available recently, but it may
Uh,
not be anymore.
to my knowledge, it's still functioning. I don't know. I don't know. We could look and find out.
But anyway, so those two churches came to mind, because we know the Point had taken 6 months off, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that 6 months has ended, given what, if I remember when he said they started to here we are, almost April. And then that church came.
Well, my understanding is theirs is paid for.
Right.
They had a piece of land on Univetta Road for many years where they were going to build, but they could never get easements. They could never get lift pump stations. They could never get the city. It was just a mess. I mean, it took us 4 months to get that sign,
They're still suspended services.
you know?
I have it right here.
What's the name of it?
The point, it says, thank you for dropping by, we have temporarily suspended services, please check back in the future.
So
Okay.
they're still.
Okay. I mean,
I was just thinking, I mean, those two churches came to mind as two essentially vacant churches.
well, let's brainstorm a minute. What are the possibilities? We could ask them if they want to sell it, if they want to lease to buy, if they want to just lease it for 6 months until they see what they're going to do. The problem I see is it's so far from Jerry and Erica.
Market Lane would be theoretically a little bit closer, but not enough to make or break it.
You have to help me with the directions, because it seems.
Farther north, so,
Yeah, it's further north, it's up East Cherokee.
yeah.
And
I mean,
and then we got Joanne and
oh, they're
them.
Crab Apple Falls.
Them are this way. They're that way.
I don't think, I mean, and I may be speaking out of turn, but I think people are gonna drive 5 miles further. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think,
It means us being in another location.
not for you, no 5 miles further. But,
Well, we gotta be careful, we gotta take what we can get to and be thoughtful about that, right?
they're driving an hour, we can move it a little closer to them and then us drive a little further. You know?
So we've just
Give and take a little bit.
if we look at everybody, Amy and Chris are just in Tennessee.
Sorry. I mean, unless we go further south, it was, you can't.
Well, I mean, we got to count everybody.
Well, I mean, we can count, of course, there are family, but I don't think us moving 5 miles this way or 5 miles this way, they're
Within the
driving.
same area.
They're driving an hour and a half anyway, so it's not like we're gonna go an hour closer to them.
No, because then we'd lose
Right.
another 70% of the congregation.
But if you
So
think about it, if we do go farther north, it's actually
It would be closer for them.
For them and for the Anglins
Come across 20.
and for, and for.
Without Keith, though, he was mad for it.
yeah, Keith's and Ackworth.
We can't make every person that happen.
No, but
We'd love to.
Yeah, I mean,
I would love to.
selfishly, me and Miss Beverly and Lisa, we love this location.
I actually
But
don't
if
mind
you
driving a
take
little
it-
farther.
If
because
you
I-
take it to Jasper, we're going.
Yeah, and I like having time to do my makeup in the car, so I'm okay driving. So honestly, I'm fine with driving farther.
That's what I'm saying, like,
Don't be on the highway with Lisa.
No, my husband's driving.
Be behind
while
her.
I'm getting ready.
I'm just saying, if you went to Jasper, that would increase mine and Miss Beverly and Lisa's drive by,
Jasper.
I'm just saying, but I would
I know.
still go, I would still go.
I know a place up on the other side of Cumming by Canton if you wanna go that way.
Yeah, you gotta keep going.
But I'm just saying, we would drive 30 minutes, y'all are driving an hour.
I think we just have to take what we can get at this point, unfortunately.
I think what we need to do is make sure we got a lease for the next couple of months anyway, or maybe a year, and we can work all this other stuff out
Yeah.
and try and tie the look or something in our price range.
well, we got
We just don't wanna blow through the money that we have in the bank on nothing, We
Yeah.
gotta be a little careful there,
yeah.
right?
And I've seen it so many, really, and you know how much I love you, but I told Amy and Chris, when they said they were moving, they said that we're not going to miss anything. And I said, I've loved you since you were a kid, and you will. You're not going to come down here on Wednesday night, hardly ever, because you're not going to get off work until 6 o'clock. I mean, it's just life. And they don't have any kids. So if you factor in ball games and ballet and karate and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and all these other things, the more you fracture the people, the harder it is for them to get here. And this great little continuity that we have right now, I would hate to lose that. I don't want to lose it, but so we just have to be just talking and praying, and don't be quiet about it, and make sure that we try not to miss anything that comes our way if something does come our way. You know, we thought there for a few minutes that one out on 92. What was the name of it? South Cherokee, yeah. We thought that was a godsend until we went into the educational building and went downstairs, and it was solid black mold, and there's no telling how much we would have had to spend to renovate that place. Lisa, that may have been just before y'all came. Yeah. Yeah, it's over on Highway 92, right across the street from the racetrack, Dixie Speedway. Yeah, and I'm a charter member. Bobby and I are of that church, and it's been there since the 80s, and it's paid for. They can keep it forever. I think they said they were paying $37 a month electric bill and a little bit of water bill because they only used part of the church, and they had, I mean, the people they have 15, 11, 15. Yeah. Yeah. And yet they're still open. You know, I mean, because it's paid for. It's all paid for. What do you think, Steve? You got the final word. Chicken.
Check out the things that we have in the area that the girls talked about. Check them out and see where they go, and you never know when the Lord opens the door.
That's true. Because he opened this one, or we would have been closed. There was another time we were planning on closing. You remember? I was in Nashville working on a record, and Norm called me, and he said the people next door that owned the thrift store just told us we can have everything. They're going out of business, and we can have everything. So we took the sanctuary and we turned it into a thrift store for 2 or 3 weeks. That's all we did is sell stuff for 2 or 3 weeks. And that gained us $7,000, netted us, which allowed us to live another 3 months until we got to over here.
So we had
The black box.
the warehouse,
The black box.
yeah, the black box.
Oh, that's right. We went to the Black Box for 5 years. Sorry about that. Yeah. And
How much money did we have when we left the black box?
$500, something like that. Norm and I almost went out to lunch and spent it all.
Well, it's strange because you lost the youth over on that side, and then when we moved over here, we still lost a bunch of people. For
Yep.
no apparent reason, because
And-
they didn't want to be Southern Baptists.
And but many, the ones that we lost primarily said they would drive the extra 7 miles. And the Black Box from here is 7 miles. But they did it once or twice, and then they're gone. They're just gone. So Yeah, yeah.
Faith, 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 right?
Pardon?
I mean, I'm sorry,
Faith, there you go.
faith, I mean,
That's it.
I'm sorry, if you're committed to an organization, make it happen.
Well,
And remember, I mean, you know what I'm saying, like, I'm not gonna fight it with 5 miles or 10 miles,
right.
you know?
And neither are we. But it takes, yeah. Some people are out there are really stretched to their limit now. You know, coming is a long way to come twice a week.
Right.
So,
Well, we were willing to go over to South Cherokee or whatever it was over there.
And that was a ways.
Not quite. I just had to take a different route. It was 5 miles difference.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna spend 2.5 hours on the road. I can turn my television on and watch podcasts, okay, to drive 50 miles one way. But that's not the point here. We're not gonna do that, so.
but everybody, all of us have a limit. We may not state it, and we may not even know it yet, but we've all got a limit that will work for us realistically. So that's what we need to keep in mind. We need to keep looking. We need to not get discouraged. You know, we've got, like I said, we've got money for the next. If we continue to take in money at the same rate that we're taking it in right now, we can last another few years, no problem. We won't even blink, you know, unless there's some big tragedy or something like that. So we can pay this, we can pay that, and we can last 2 or 3 years if we can. I mean, it's not like everybody's going to stop giving, are you? So there will still be income, and that will go to buttress whatever the 137,000 balance is, or something like that. So we got a long runway before everything falls to pieces, you know, which it won't. It won't. Things are going to start picking up starting in May. We're going to have some outdoor concerts. We're going to attract some attention. We're going to make some noise, but we're going to have to spend a little money to do it. Right now, we've been kind of just being very guarded, you know, and taking care of our funding, and which is good. It's a very good thing. But sometimes I think, you just got to do what you got. Did you hit a home run?
No, they lost.
Oh. Well, that's not good. All right, I would like to read you, oddly enough, faith. I'd like to read you something I wrote down in my notes on faith in 1982. And then we'll talk about faith. Chapter 11, which is the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Faith, which is called, beginning in verse 4. The concept of faith is verse 11, chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. The assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. What does that mean?
Keep on pushing.
Okay, that's good. What is it?
Fight the good fight.
Fight the good fight. Well, let me read you something about faith that you may not have thought about. Faith is the Word of God is a two-edged sword, but faith is a two-edged sword also. Faith can get you into the most wonderful situations, and then faith can also get you into dire, deadly situations. And that doesn't sound like it's right, but it is. Let me, if I can find my stupid notes. Here it is. It must be understood that faith is not always used in the same way in the letter to the Hebrews. It's used in two different ways. It's used as a verb, and it's used as what? A noun. Okay? So it's used in two different ways. Sometimes, as a noun, it refers to a body of beliefs which are accepted by the people of God. We share a common faith in this group of people. We don't all believe exactly the same. We see that in Sunday school and sometimes out here when we talk. It's not jot and tittle exactly belief upon belief. We're not little clones of one another. The Southern Baptist Convention, if you even know that we are a member of the Southern Baptist Convention, because I don't talk about that too much, are a group of churches that live in total autonomy. Autonomy, which means they make their decisions for themselves. No other church, no other body can come in here and tell us how to believe, how to run our service, how to get a pastor, how to get praise and worship leaders, what kind of music to do. And now, if they own the building, they can tell us when and where and how to get out. They can do that. But our faith, our body of belief, is up to us. We are autonomous. Every Southern Baptist church, every American Baptist church, for that matter, is autonomous, and we're different. First Baptist Roswell, First Baptist Canton, us, we're all a little bit different. A lot of it's based on size, a lot of it's based on resources, but we are different. But at the same time, we are in control of our own destiny, of our own, well, God's in control of it, but we are partners in it. Sometimes as a noun, it refers to a body of beliefs which we are accepted by the people of God. As a verb, the meaning would be that of a motivating force or action. It is interesting that the usage of the word faith is to be found primarily in chapter 11 when we talk about Hebrews, where it occurs 24 times as a noun, but only twice as a verb. When we talk about being people of faith, that's what we believe. When we talk about using our faith, that's actionable, and that's how we live and how we respond to the world around us and the situations that we have come our way and the curves that are thrown at us and how we respond. The noun form is used only 9 times in the remainder of the entire document. Since the noun form is used predominantly, it may throw new light into our interpretation of chapter 11. Perhaps a greater emphasis should be given to holding dear the basic tenets of the doctrines. Obviously, the verb form, which is also used, still leaves room to interpret faith as a dynamic force. By grace, by faith, we use those terms. And that's when faith becomes a dynamic force. It's not a group of beliefs that we have. It's an unseen force that lives within us and works within us, and what causes us to continue to be Cornerstone, and we will continue to be Cornerstone based on faith, by faith, because we can't do it without faith at all. Doesn't matter how much money we have. We'll just end up with a country club if all we have is money. I mean, if that's all it is about is money, then we can adjourn here and go find ourselves a place, and we can we can have places where we can do things and go places, and it'll just be a country club setting, as opposed to a little bit of a war setting. And think about your Old Testament and your New Testament especially. Christianity has always been a fight. It's always been a battle. And it's been bloody most of the time. And you think about the people that lived in the Promised Land, in Jerusalem in the first century, when they were owned they were tenants, you know. They paid rent, and Rome owned them. It was their faith that got them through. It was faith that put them to sleep at night. It was their faith that awakened them in the morning. It was their faith that raised their children. And that's what we have to keep an eye on, which is to make certain we protect our faith, which is two things. It's a set of beliefs that we have and we agree upon, but it's an energy that we are willing to put forth that comes internally from us, and we just won't give up. That's faith. Now, faith is also another two things. It's really, really good news, and it can be really, really bad news. Faith can be really good news or really bad news. When Abraham got the dream that he was to take his son Isaac, now see, you and I, we take chapter 20 and we read it all the way to the end, and we know, yay, it turned out so good. But he didn't have the Bible. Hadn't been written yet. So all he knew was, by faith, in a God that he'd never seen, he was to take his son that he loved, Isaac, and take him 3 days hence, go up a mountain, put him on a stack of wood, and cut his heart out, basically. Just kill him. Now, if he was going to do that, he had to do that by faith. It was by faith that Abraham was willing to put his son to death. And that's some pretty bad news. But that's faith. Now, it's the good kind of faith that made certain that Dodge truck was parked in the thicket, which made me remember once again that we need to be careful when we're talking to our kids, because they interpret things a little different than the way we do. So if you weren't here last week and we went over and Anna Kate said, well, it was okay because there was a Dodge Ram sitting in the thicket and everything's going to be okay. Well, she was right, but it was a little bit different. But that was the good kind of faith that we would say that's good faith. Boy, I like that faith. I love that faith when it turns out just right. But what about the 3 days in between when they first started and when they got there? That's faith too. That's faith. If we ever leave this place, and I've been thinking about this most of the day, I think that's the kind of faith that's going to be involved. It's going to be a very deep level, gut level of faith that we will just have to determine that we accept or not, that we believe it or not. And then we will move forward based on our faith. It won't affect the basic I don't want to say rules and regulations, but the basic belief system that we have, that will travel with us wherever we go. But it will take a level of faith to move forward, to move out, to clean up, to take down all this stuff that we've taken pains to put up. And it didn't seem like it took that much to get it where it is. But it did. there's 1,500 feet of cabling in these troughs that y'all have never seen. We strung that stuff out all over this church, all over the floors, 1,500 feet. And that's what the troughs are for. And that's where the cameras are run that Philip runs on this side and that side, and in the back where you can't see it, over the back. And it runs these screens, and it runs these amplifiers, and it runs all the stuff where this is plugged into that. And all of that will have to be undone in order to go to another place. And it will take faith to do all that, because that's going to be one heck of a chore, don't you think? Maybe that's our new building. It may be. So we have to, over a period of time, like somebody said, and it might have been Lisa said, or we've got 5 or 6 months at the current rate that we can just dig in and make up our mind and start looking and do things proactively that will help us if the time ever comes. We may be here 5 years. We may be here 5 years, and that would be great. That means, golly, that means most of those little girls that were standing up on the stage last Sunday will be starting high school. Yeah, I say no also. But we may be here that long, and it may be a very amiable situation. But we were spoken to in a very, not rude, but a very direct manner, that it was what it was, and that's what it's going to be, and that's okay. We're all big boys and girls, and we can take that. So I propose that we begin to take small steps, like if nothing else, let's just clean out this back aisle back. And some of you don't even know it exists, but there's a place back there that you can't even hardly walk through, and almost all that stuff is ours. And these do what?
But not all of it.
No. Most of it is, though. Most of their stuff is in the cabinets. Ours is spilled out thanks to me. These chairs don't belong to us. We don't own any chairs anymore. We gave our chairs when we saw that we were going to be here quite some time. There was no reason to store. We did store them, and they were molding. They were just full of black mold when we gave them to Vince Gill. Ha ha ha. Serves him right. He buys his own chairs. But we gave them away. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And we can, I would like to see us work on this stuff, what we believe, what we really, really believe. Now this will move us. This is movement. This is energy here. And this is what we will need when it comes time. But this is what will sustain us while we're here and while we're looking and while we're getting a little bit discouraged from time to time, because it's not happening as fast as I think it will, but as it should. But if we start to really appreciate one another, really get to know one another, do things, cook out, summer's coming. I mean, just live life and enjoy each other's company and the kids that the Lord has brought to us. This will be good. It will be good. And we have good elders that have good heads on their shoulders. We got a couple of more men that are coming in to leadership. And we got people and the ladies that work so hard, that are smarter than we are. I appreciate y'all, and you know that I think you're smarter than we are, so there's no secret there. And there's just so much that we can do. There's a whole lot of what do you call it when it's in the outer space now? The social media. There's a lot of that stuff we can do. We don't do it. We don't do it. Philip records and then sets it up, but we don't do anything. We don't. But there's just a lot of things we can be doing that will generate faith, energy, proactivity. People will be glad we did it. It will make us feel good, and it will make the new people feel good that come to be with us. And when anybody new steps in that door, they do not need to feel like we are just downtrodden and don't know what the heck we're going to do. Because if I were that person and walked in, I'd turn right around and walk back out. I don't need to surround myself by people who don't know what they're doing. I can do that with my own family, you know. I need to be around people who have faith in what they're doing and the Lord that's leading them. And I've preached myself out of time. But do you see what I'm saying? It may seem like a bad situation, but I think, you know, creating bricks out of mortar and straw was a bad situation until Moses came along. And then living under the boot of Roman rule was a bad situation until earlier than that, the Maccabean revolt and all those things that started to take place. Things started to shake, things started to change, and they got to be a part of it, a part of that. We've lost some people, and we may continue to lose some people because that number has to be known. You know, we don't play secret. We're transparent, and that's going to be our rent. And that may scare some people off, but it may not. So I don't know. I'm rambling. But faith has a good part. Faith has a bad part. It was faith that pulled them out of bondage, and that had to be rough to get up that morning and leave, even though they hated it. In fact, you remember that once they got over the Red Sea, they wanted to go back. But it's also that what we believe, that we share with those kids in the back, that sometimes know more about it than we do. And that's what will move us forward into the coming months and years and whatever happens. Y'all have anything? Rich, you walked in late. I'm sorry you missed. How did the game go?
We lost.
Oh, but that's all right. It's always next week.
Not Atlanta.
Always next week. Always next week. I watched our soccer kids play last week, and one little boy scored 3 goals in a row within 2 minutes. Problem was, it was the wrong goal and for the wrong team. And but he was so happy, and we just cheered for him. And oh goodness, yeah, just patted him on the back. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Any other questions about this stuff, about what we've talked about tonight?
I was just looking up, if Abraham knew, it sounds crazy, right? Just that situation, but Abraham knew that he would provide that sacrifice, as evidenced in his other providing, Isaac as the covenant son so it's just, when you think about it from a different perspective, it just seems like Abraham knew that he would provide
raise his son from the dead.
Correct, yes.
That's pretty good faith right there.
Right.
So we're in good hands. We're in a good place. We're in good hands. And
Well, God is I mean, hearing the story of Cornerstone, he's continuously opened the right doors and his timing. Sometimes, you know, you're like, Lord, where you at, you know?
Yep.
But it was his timing, like with the antique store, and
Yeah.
boom, there you got it.
yeah,
We gotta have that faith that he's gonna
we do. We
open
do.
the right door.
And we'll just continue to do what we're doing. And it's money's going to be spent, so we're not used to spending the money that we do, but we will, and it's there. That's the only reason it's there. So we'll be okay. We will be okay. All right? Who wants to pray? Let's let the coach pray. Pray, coach. Oh, not that coach. Not my coach. You, coach. Yeah.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time that we can be together, study your word, and also just to come together as a body of believers that share the same faith, not only as a noun, but in it as in a verb. And Lord, let us live it out and have strong faith that you will carry us through this valley that seems to be a valley, but Lord, we know that we can overcome it through you if we have strong faith. Lord, thank you again for everybody here and everything that you do for us, and be with the people that need specific prayer requests and that are ailing, Lord, and suffering loss. Lord, we love you, and thank you so much for our family here. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank y'all so much for being here tonight, and we hope to see you Sunday.
Thank you for tuning in today to hear Pastor David's message. We hope that you take this opportunity to draw closer to your family and closer to God. If you want to financially support this ministry, we will include a link below where you can send a donation. If you enjoyed the service today, please click the like button for this video. And if you would like to follow us on YouTube, just click the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to click the YouTube notification bell so you'll be notified every time a new video is posted. I hope you have a blessed day, stay safe, and stay strong in Christ.